Hello, nerds. Thank you for watching Generally Nerdy. This is your week in Nerdom TV edition for the week of November 12th, 2018. This week in TV news, we have some updates for the channel, and then we're talking Disney's streaming app, we're talking new George R.R. Martin property is going to be on television, we're talking all kinds of really awesome stuff, and in the intro.
Quiet on the set, rolling.
Hi, I am Bitsy Telek.
Hey, I'm Hale Appleman.
I'm Walter Kane.
I'm Rene Aubergenois. Odo on Deep Space Nine.
Michael Dorn, Lieutenant Commander Worf, Star Trek The Next Generation.
Come and see me and hear me and talk to me and listen to me talk about myself.
Hey man, this is Kevin Smith, often considered generally nerdy, and you are listening to what is often considered generally nerdy.
On Generally Nerdy.
You're listening to
Generally Nerdy.
Generally Nerdy.
Generally nerdy.
First thing, just to get this out of the way, this is going to be I mentioned it yesterday, we're mentioning again today, this is going to be the last week of the year that we do the proper 5 episodes. Things are going to be updated over the next few weeks. I'm going to be making proper, a different intro, proper bumpers. We're going to be changing the format of your Week in Nerddom videos slightly. Also going to be doing more, gearing up for more things that are going to be patron exclusives. So keep an eye out for that. Patreon.com/generallynerdy. That is the place to go get all the patron exclusives. There's plenty up there now. If you want to go check it out, you can go check it out. But yeah, just things are going to be changing. Holidays are coming up, birthdays are coming up, travel. There will still be Nerddom update videos. They will just not be 5 a week. I'm thinking we'll have a couple of blackout weeks, specifically next week and the week following, and then likely the week of Christmas and New Year's will be also a blackout week. But all of the other weeks from now until the end of the year will be somewhere around a video, maybe 2. We'll be catching up on our Adventures in Photography videos because I do still have the Salt Lake Comic Con Adventure in Photography video to finish. I have to record the tail end of it, which is the how-to portion of the Adventures in Photography. So yeah, just all kinds of stuff is happening. As of the first of the year, things are going to start looking and sounding different, but not bad. Better, the same, maybe, just different, I don't know. But big things are coming, so keep your eyes peeled and definitely keep checking back. Don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell, all that jazz. Oh, and since I just got done rambling, we're going to jump into TV news for the week. TV news this week, we are starting with the Disney streaming app. Well, first off, it officially has 2 names. Multiple sources are calling it different things. I have a few sources calling it Disney Plus. I have a few other sources calling it Disney Play. I haven't been able to find the official press release that says, hey, this is what it's called now. None of that, though apparently it will be happening mid to late 2019 is when it will be rolling out. So between now and then, we should be expecting a lot more Disney properties to be pulled off of certain streaming services. Not super likely everything is going to be pulled off of Netflix, because Netflix is, A, it's making Disney a lot of money. So there's that. B, the Netflix, Disney, Marvel properties, so the specifically Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Punisher, I think those are the only 3 that are still on there. Those 3 are a lot more mature, less family friendly, which is still apparently the image Disney is going for, even though they've bought Fox now and Marvel and Lucas. Like, yeah, I can see Marvel to an extent and Lucas to a greater extent being family oriented by and large, but to be exclusively such seems like Disney's missing out on certain potentials. So that's bird walking. We're not going to go too deep into that. But Feige did tell who was it? THR, the Hollywood Reporter, that The plan for the Marvel side of things on the streaming app is to supplement their movie-going experience. So this week it was the Loki series that we talked about a few weeks ago has been 100% confirmed. Hiddleston has signed on, and it is 100% happening. The Elizabeth Olsen Scarlet Witch series is still likely to happen, though the contracts have not been finalized there just yet. And also new rumors about that is that it's not just going to be Scarlet Witch, it's likely going to be Scarlet Witch and Vision, so the couple from the comics, which is a fantastic move. But yeah, anyway, so back to what Feige said. He and I'm going to paraphrase. If you want the direct quote, you can find it in a million different places, but people are kind of misinterpreting what he's saying. He says something to the effect of they still want to have a theatrical experience and have lines lined up around the building if we're lucky, and that's kind of how the quote ends. People are taking this to mean that they want to turn the streaming app, into a theatrical experience, and I feel like that's not the intent behind the quote. It sounds to me, and I really feel like this is what he meant. I really feel like a lot of people are missing this. It sounds to me like these are going to be more episodic and less theatrical, so that when you do sit down in the theatrical side of it, when you do sit down and go see Avengers 4 or the new X-Men movies that they're going to start making in a year or two, or whatever you're going to sit down in the actual theater for, it will be augmented. It will be improved because you have seen these things on the streaming app. It's not to say that the things on the streaming app are going to be huge and theatrical. They are going to be a bigger budget than we're used to seeing in television, probably, and even in streaming TV. This is going to be, because it's Disney, right? They're printing their own money at this point. They have more money than God, and that they can throw at whatever they want. That's why they have movie stars doing effectively television. A crossover that just 5 years ago would have seemed really weird makes total sense in this ecosystem that they're creating. So it's not that they're going to make a theatrical feeling in the streaming app. They're using the streaming app to supplement the theatrical events. So the theatrical events, and this would be beautiful, and now we're into conjecture land, but this would be a beautiful thing, is we get the episodic, individualized stuff. Instead of getting just a straight Iron Man movie, instead of getting just a straight Hulk movie, we get the individualized episodic bits through the streaming app, and then the movies become fewer and farther between because they're the big events. They're the big crossovers that you get in comic books. So they would more mirror their source material, and I feel like that, if that is the direction they're going, that is probably the best direction to go, because then you can keep... The reason we get so many Marvel movies, we get 2, 3, 4 a year, is because they're trying to keep their characters in the cultural lexicon. They're trying to keep everything relevant. If they can put out an episode a week or a couple of episodes a week that establish that, then we get better quality in the movies. Not that the movies are necessarily bad, but there's definitely a plateau that we've kind of hit, and really we hit it a while ago. We just didn't realize it until recently. So I feel like if we get less movies, more episodic content, but less movies overall, the movies become more important, the movies become more effective, and we are more willing to go see the movies. Well, they'll break more records. They'll sell billions and billions of tickets in the opening night instead of a couple million, you know what I mean? So if that is the way, and I really feel like that's a direction that makes a whole lot of sense for them to take, and I'm sure it will be some semblance of that, then I can totally get behind it. Also, staying on the Disney streaming app, we are talking about another Star Wars series on the app. It will be a spin-off series from Rogue One, which is weird because they all died at the end, except Cassian Andor, who was the pilot, and I thought he died, but I guess not. I gotta go rewatch Rogue One. But he's getting a spin-off series. It could be a prequel. That would kind of make sense. But either way, the original actor who played him in the movie is going to be the actor who plays him in the series. Makes sense. Again, they're printing money. They can do whatever they want. Last thing, this is a real quick thing about the Disney app, is we don't have a specific date for it to be released. But again, we should be expecting a lot of Disney stuff to be pulled from Hulu. Probably not 100% certain there because they are the majority shareholders of Hulu, so maybe they just transform Hulu into their app, who knows. But yeah, that's what we've got there. I feel like that's quite a bit, and we're moving on next to Nightflyers. For the uninitiated, Nightflyers is a sci-fi series, not Sci-Fi the channel, sci-fi as in science fiction, that George R.R. Martin started back in '87. It's not a series, it's a novella. The novella then got expanded into a short novel in like '93, and it's kind of horror sci-fi, and then so the news is it's been picked up from Syfy the channel, and you can see 2 teasers, trailers, kind of things down in the description. I've linked to 2 of them that I've released recently. It looks like it's going to be pretty good. The thing I don't understand, and if there's any George R.R. Martin fans out there, then you've got to be right there with me. Yes, Game of Thrones is the best one to have started with, but Nightflyers, there was a movie about this in, it was 87 that it got adapted into a movie. It was 85 that it was originally written, and 86 when it got expanded. Maybe it was 83 and 86, something like that. Anyway, there was a movie made in 87 that was pretty bad, but Martin's always good stuff. Anyway, Game of Thrones is the best place to start with Martin's work, but why did we go to Nightflyers next? Why did we not go to Wild Cards? Wild Cards is a series, technically is an anthology series, but it's an anthology series that tells an overarching story. It starts off as alternate history, and then comes to present day, and then I believe the later novels are in the future slightly. But it's a fantastic series. It's superheroes, it's science fiction, it's this awesome amalgamation of all of these things that are going on so beautifully right now in our culture. It doesn't make sense that it doesn't get turned into its own video property of some sort. Preferably an episodic, so something TV-wise, something streaming perhaps. I would imagine part of the issue is that there are, for each book, up through until about book like 15 or so, there's around 5 to 6 authors per book, because again, it's an anthology series kind of, in that each author tells a short story that is interwoven with the other short stories in the book, and they all tell a big overarching story for the book, and then each book is an even bigger story arc, and it's a wonderful thing. If you haven't read Wild Cards, I beg of you, do so. They re-released the first 4 books, maybe the first 5 books, about 2-3 years ago, so they should be pretty easy to find. And like I said, it's into like the 20s with how many novels there are. So you've got plenty of reading to do if you like George R.R. Martin. He is the overall editor of the series. He also has at least 1 story per book. So yeah, I don't know why we went with Nightflyers, though it does look like it's going to be pretty good. I will hold out judgment until I actually watch it. And so we're going to move on. Next, we're talking about The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Yes, I know, we've already talked about it's worth watching. If you haven't watched it, then this isn't going to spoil anything for you. This is just a fun little thing. The Satanic Temple or the Satanic Church. I don't know. I don't know my Satanist religions well enough to know if there is a difference and what that difference may be. But the Satanic Temple, I believe is how they're referring to themselves, is suing Netflix over, and Warner Brothers, over The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Now, I know what you're thinking, because I had the exact same thought. Well, this is kind of like the Hells Angels suing Kurt Sutter and Fox when they started doing Sons of Anarchy on FX. No, not really, because the Sons of Anarchy didn't use any imagery or iconography from the Hells Angels. They just were a kind of caricature of what the Hells Angels actually are. The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina use a Baphomet statue of the devil, that very closely, it's not exact, but very closely resembles the Baphomet statue that the Satanic Temple uses. The similarities are the goat head, the hand gesture, and the children. I think the children is the biggest part that kind of gives them a leg to stand on, because the Baphomet imagery is fairly commonplace to the point of being conceivably fair use, but Baphomet with children surrounding him, or children at least at his feet, is pretty unique. I feel like that's the linchpin of their argument. And from the sound of it, some legal analysts believe they have a leg to stand on, which is very, very interesting. So it's a copyright issue. It's not copyrighting their lifestyle, though, to be fair, they are not super happy with the way the show has portrayed Satanists. Go figure. But it's not, again, they're not trying to copyright their lifestyle, which is what the Hells Angels were trying to sue over. This is a very specific use of an image. So potentially they could have to pull the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina down. Now, if that happens, if you've seen all the way through and you've seen the Baphomet statue that I'm talking about, then you realize that that statue looks very CG. So, very potentially, they could just pull it down and then re-CG a different statue and put it right back up. Entirely feasible. Which also kind of leads you to think, well, if they did the statue entirely out of CG, or enough out of CG that it looks computer generated, then maybe they were kind of anticipating this, so maybe they were like egging it on. That seems like a stunt, right? It seems like they're trying to get coverage, and it worked. I can't say for certain that that's the case, but it really isn't outside of the realm of possibilities. Let's say that. So yeah, that's what we've got there. Next, we're going to be talking about The Walking Dead. And we've got two areas to cover for The Walking Dead, and specifically episode 5 and episode 6. Now, normally when I film on Sunday nights, and I can't watch The Walking Dead before I film just because of timing and so on and so forth. I usually watch it after, and then if there's something to talk about, I have previously interjected that at a different time. Well, I'm filming a little later tonight, so I have already seen episode 6. So, if you are a Walking Dead fan and you are keeping up with the current season, then skip ahead a few minutes, because I'm about to spoil episode 6. Though it has been a couple of days at this point, so you've been warned. First, though, we're going to start with episode 5, and man, I honestly thought they would actually kill off Rick, because, again, contracts and so on and so forth. But now it sounds like they're talking about the potential for Rick and, what's her name, Annabelle? Maybe that's the actress's name, the junkyard lady. There's talk about them potentially doing a Walking Dead movie. Now, we've talked about how they want to expand the Walking Dead universe. They want to do at least one more spin-off series. I think last time we talked about it, though, there were potential plans for 5 other spin-off series, kind of like Game of Thrones, and then also movie ideas shooting around. So leaving Rick alive totally opens up those movie ideas. And now again, there's rumors that that's the direction that they're going with those two characters. So that's incredibly interesting. And then when we get to the absolute end of the episode, when we have that 6-month jump, or what was it, a year later, the year jump, something, and we get to the end of the episode and we see an older Judith. The internet like exploded with like, oh, she's so strong. She was there for like 30 seconds. We don't know anything about this character. I'm not trying to dismiss the character by any means, because I love this series and the potential for her to be awesome definitely exists, but she wasn't on screen that long. We don't know that she's a badass. Yes, she's Rick's daughter, kind of. But again, that's not a guarantee that the actress is going to be great or that the character is going to be written well or whatever. Just the potential exists. So yeah, that's kind of takeaway from episode 5 is, wow, I really thought they were going to kill Rick, and then Judith seems interesting. So now into episode 6, we got, first of all, cinematography in this episode started a little shaky, but then as we get to the third act, man, does it get so good. We have Eugene and Rosita running from the herd, and then we get that, and that is kind of the start of where it starts to get really interesting visually. But we have that shot. I talked about it when we saw teasers for this season. We have that shot of them jumping into the riverbed. Oh, why did you just do that, you stupid camera? We got that shot of them jumping into the riverbed, covering themselves with mud, and then we have that really awesome push in as they're getting down and doing, and like they oh, so beautiful, so well executed. And then we're gonna come back to that. I just had to get to that point just because I love the look of that. So now we have more of the same. I feel like we're setting up for change. We're setting up to break the habits of the last 3 seasons where kind of everything happens the same, just with different players. Also, see in episode 6, they reference Maggie, perhaps, even though apparently her last episode was also episode 5, the same as Rick's episode, Rick's final episode. I don't know if they're going the direction they need to. Just, it smells like the same thing again. It smells like, well, now we've lost a couple of cast members, let's add a couple of new ones, and the new cast members that they just added, these 5 characters, they act like the zombie apocalypse just happened, when we know that's not the case because Judith was born, at least a year after the apocalypse happened, and now she's pushing 12, 11 maybe. So we've got 12 to 13 years of apocalypse. How are these 5 people? It just seems really forced. They know that there's something wrong, and they're trying to fix it as fast as possible. And it felt like, for a majority of this episode, it really felt like they were pushing in the wrong direction. And then we get to that final scene where we have that really awesome push in, and we see Rosita and Eugene in the riverbed. And then you hear, and go back and watch it again if you didn't hear this, because it's there. You hear all of the zombies, the herd is pushing past them, and you obviously, all of the crazy zombie noises. Inside of the zombie noises, we get whispers. And the whispers say, don't let them get away. So, we know we're getting the whispers. That's not a big surprise. We absolutely know it's coming. They've announced it. What's his name, who played Opie in Sons of Anarchy, is going to be Beta, and so on and so forth. So we know that's coming. That's not a surprise. But the way they're beginning to introduce them shows that maybe they are pushing in the right direction. So we're very close to the mid-season finale, if not to the mid-season finale. See if I can find it. No, we still have 2 more episodes, it would seem, before mid-season end. Oh, maybe it's just 2 more episodes left in the series. In the season, rather. Either way. If there's only 2 episodes left in the season, then we have another slow season. If there's 2 episodes left before mid-season break and we get another set of episodes after the new year, then yes, please, because that will be where the change comes. I know I'm a lot more hopeful than most people who watch it anymore, but I just love this show so much. Anyway, it's enough rambling about Walking Dead. We're kicking on next. We're talking about one that I meant to talk about last week. I just forgot to put it in my notes because I heard it from somewhere when I wasn't actually doing research and never followed up. So I followed up now, and there's a new animated Star Trek show called Star Trek Lower Decks coming to the CBS All Access app. It's really, really notable for 2 reasons. One, animated Star Trek didn't go over horribly last time they did it, but the last time they did it was like the 70s, I believe. So it's kind of been a long time coming. And 2, Rick and Morty. What do Rick and Morty have to do with Star Trek, you say? Well, one of the creators of Rick and Morty, Mike McMahon, I believe is how you pronounce that. And I've watched at least a little bit of wrestling to know enough. He is going to be the showrunner for this show. It's about a crew. It's about basically it's plumbing the Death Star. It's about the crew who does all the maintenance, who refills all of the machinery and all of the things that keep the ship running, but it's not on a ship that we really know anything about. I feel like they're creating this ship specifically for the show. It's a lower class ship, so it doesn't get a lot of action. It's just going to be all of the stuff that happens behind the scenes, and I feel like that is very potentially going to be hilarious. The rumor is, now, if this is The Long Night, this will be different. But if this is not The Long Night, this is very likely going to be somewhat based on the history book that Martin is putting out that we talked about a few weeks back, dealing with the Targaryen history. The Targaryen history. So if that's the case, then Naomi Watts very likely is playing a prominent Targaryen. So makes sense. Or she's going to be proto-Lannister or early Lannister, and that would make a little bit more sense for Long Night. Just the Casterlys, when they had Casterly Rock, before the Lannister family took over, that could be some sort of conflict, because that's about the time that the wall was built and so on and so forth. So very, very interesting. So to cap this off, I'm going to pass this off to you guys. Do you want this to be the story of The Long Night? Do you want this to be the origin of the White Walkers? Because that's the implication with The Long Night. Do you want this to be the history book? Do you want this to be the Targaryen history? Which way do you feel like this should go? Or hidden option W, which is something we haven't even talked about yet. What do you guys want to see come out of this prequel series? Definitely let's talk about that down in the comments. And that is where we're ending this week's TV episode, guys. What did I miss? What should we talk about next week? Let me know in the comments down low. If, though, you want to go deeper into the conversation, jump over to the website, generallynerdy.net. That is the place that you can go get all of the freebies, all of the updates, all of the social media links, and the store links so you can get your nerdy swag. Everything starts over at generallynerdy.net. There's also a Patreon page, patreon.com/generallynerdy. That is the place to go support the channel more directly, get more content through Patreon, patreon.com/generallynerdy. If you are new to this channel, though, click the subscribe button. If you like this episode, click the like button. If you're falling behind in your nerd news and you want to catch up, click or tap that box right there to the left of my face to do that. But before you click anything and just go to the places and do the things, guys, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.